I'm going to discuss access modifiers in object-oriented programming in Java course. This is our lesson number 3. Okay. First of all, let's read this paragraph. Okay. Read this paragraph. Access modifiers control the access to methods and attributes. Now, in lesson number 1 and lesson number 2, okay, you have heard about. Now, this is the graphical notation of a class. Okay, here we include the name, and here we include the set of attributes, okay, here we include the set of methods, and for the set of attributes we call it the state of the class. Set of methods we call it the behavior of the class. Okay, now access modifiers control the access to methods and attributes. Now you have learned attributes and methods. Then what do we understand by access modifiers? They control the access to attributes and methods. Okay, so there are 4 access modifiers in Java. One particular access modifier is default. Then public, private, and protected. Okay, those are the 4 access modifiers available in Java. Okay, so now let's look at some examples. Now, in earlier lessons, let's look at this part first. Okay, you have seen the main method public static void main. Okay, I'll write it here. Okay, I'll write it here. Public static void main string then this is our main method. Okay, now I hope you know the meaning of this one. Now this is a method, no? This is a method. Anyway, this is our main method. Okay, that is a different thing. This is a method. Now I hope you have learned the meaning of this one. Okay, static. If we use static keyword for a method, that means this is a class method. Okay, and I hope you know the meaning of this one. void, that is the return type of the method. And here in the parameter list we have a string array. Okay, so this part is also clear to you. Now this one you did not know. Okay, this is actually an access modifier. Okay, it is this. Okay, so in this lesson we are going to learn about access modifiers, and now still you do not know the purpose. Okay, another example. Now in our first two lessons, when we declare an attribute, we have just written it in this way. If it is an instance attribute, we wrote it in this way. If it is a class attribute, okay, so in this way we have declared instance attributes. In this way we have declared class attributes. Okay, so if you put something like this, okay, in this way you can put an access modifier. Okay, so it is this one. Okay, it is this one. Now here we have the private access modifier. If you do not specify any access modifier, if it is something like this, okay, so in this situation Java compiler considers as this attribute has default access modifier. Now three of them I have shown you. Still you do not know the purpose of access modifiers. Okay, now let's try to understand the purpose of access modifiers. Now this one, default access modifier, that means if we do not specify any access modifier, simply you declare an attribute like this. We do not specify an access modifier. In that case we say this attribute has default access modifier. That means Java compiler considers this one as having default access modifier. Okay, now let's understand default access modifier. So if we do not specify any access modifier, then that attribute or method will have default access modifier. Such attribute or method is available only to any other class in the same package. Then you meet a new name. Okay, you meet a new name package. Okay, you meet a new name package. Now what do you understand by package? Okay, what do you understand by package? So let's instead of this, okay, okay, so now so I'm not going to discuss about packages here. For the time being, think a package as a folder. Okay, So for the time being, okay, so now that means in one particular folder, let's say you have a file, Java file student.java, and inside this, let's say inside this you have class student int x. Now we have not specified the access modifier. That means here we have the default access modifier, and now if you have other classes within the same folder, in this situation any of these classes can access this attribute. Access this attribute means we can either get the value of the attribute or set the value. Get the value of the attribute and also set a value to the attribute. Access means something like that. Okay. So now if you have another folder, there we have classes. These classes cannot access this attribute, okay, because they are not within the same package. Okay, so classes in the same package can only access this attribute. Okay, so that is the meaning of default access modifier. Then public access modifier means if you put something like this, public int x, in this situation, yes, from the name you can understand it is public, it's publicly available. Okay, from the name you can understand the public access modifier allows an attribute or a method available to any other class. Okay, so this attribute, now this attribute can be accessed from any class. Okay, from any other class. Then let's look at private access modifier. Here you have the term private. Private access modifier. An attribute or a method with private access modifier can only be accessed within their own class. Then this attribute can be accessed only within student class. Okay, this class, even this class cannot access this attribute. Okay, it is private. Private, from the name you can understand it is private. That means this attribute can be accessed only within the class it has been defined. Okay, so the last one, protected access modifier. Okay, so in this lesson I cannot discuss it. Okay, in this lesson I cannot discuss it in detail. Okay, so an attribute or a method with protected access modifier can only be accessed by its subclasses and by other classes of the same package. For the time being you think it as a folder. Okay, So if we have protected access modifier, these classes can access, okay, these classes can access that attribute, but these classes cannot access, okay. Not only that, its subclasses can access, okay, subclasses can access this attribute, okay. So that one I'm not going to discuss in this lesson. You will learn about subclasses in lesson number 4, okay. So now I have summarized what we have discussed in a table, okay. Now let's look at it. Now here visibility, let's for an example, let's consider a particular class student, okay. Now if you declare, let's say we declare an attribute public int x, okay. So now we have several folders, okay. This is our student.java file, okay. So now in this folder also we have other classes, okay. This is another folder, there also you have classes, okay. Now if you use public access modifier, I have told you from the name it is publicly available. That means from anywhere this attribute can be accessed. That means if you look at the first one, from the same class, definitely any attribute defined in the class can be accessed within the class it has been defined, okay. So it is yes, okay. Whatever access modifier you use, public or protected or default or private, if we declare an attribute in a particular class, that attribute can be accessed by the same class it has been defined, okay. And now let's move from any class in the same package, in the same folder, let's say folder from any class we can access this attribute. Now I hope you know what I mean by access, okay. What I mean by access means we can get the value of the attribute, or else we can set the value of the attribute, okay. That's what I mean by accessing. Now you know access modifiers means we control the access using certain keywords, okay. Now you have a clear idea what do we mean by access modifiers. And now from a subclass in the same package, okay. Forget about the term subclass, still you do not know about subclasses, but from a subclass in the same package, okay. If we have a class if it is within the same folder or package, then in that situation that attribute can be accessed. Okay, so from a subclass outside the same package, yes, okay, because public means from anywhere it can be accessed. Okay, from any non-subclass outside the packages, okay, that means it is public, it is publicly available. That means from anywhere it can be accessed. Protected means from the same class, definitely yes. Okay, then from any class in the same package, yes. That means here if you put protected, okay, protected access modifier, you cannot understand it in full in this lesson. Okay, so from any class in the same package, yes. Okay, so from any class in the same package, yes. Okay, then from a subclass in the same package, yes. From a subclass outside the same package, then also yes. When I was talking about protected access modifier, I have told you here classes of the same package can access it. Therefore, this one is clear. Okay, so within this class it is definitely accessible, and from any class in the same package that attribute is accessible, and then this one from a subclass in the same package, since forget about the subclass thing, since that particular class is within the package, it can access, and this part you have to come back after you have learnt lesson 4, okay, in order to understand this. Anyway, from a subclass outside the same package, if even though these classes are outside the package, if one of these is a subclass of this one, then in that situation this attribute is accessible. Okay, that one you will learn clearly in lesson number 4. From any non-subclass outside the same package. Now outside the package, and also it is not a subclass, in that situation this attribute cannot be accessed. Okay, then if you use default access modifier, that means you do not specify an access modifier. Okay, default access modifier means something like this. Then Java compiler considers this one has default access modifier from the same class, within the same class. Okay, within the same class that attribute can be accessed, there is no doubt about that. From any class in the same package, from any class in the same package including itself can access this attribute. From a subclass in the same package, subclass thing just forget it. Okay, within the same package means if the class is within the same package means it can access this attribute. Okay, so now from a subclass outside the same package, now outside the package, therefore these classes cannot access this attribute. From any non-subclass outside the package, then definitely it should be no. Understood? Now let's look at private access modifier. Private int x. In this situation, from the name I have told you to understand private. It's private. Okay, that means it is available only within the class it has been defined. this inside this class only we can access this attribute. Okay, therefore in this row it is yes, all the other rows it is no. Okay, in that way we have summarized access modifiers. Okay, now I hope you have a clear understanding, crystal clear understanding about access modifiers. Okay, now we have to modify the two Java files as follows. Then I have to do some coding. Okay, so now we need to classes. So let's start Notepad. Class student. Okay, now inside this class we declare an attribute with private access modifier. Okay, now when you save this, okay, now this class in the desktop I have already created the folder double OP. Inside this folder I am going to save. Now here you have to use the same name, student.java, and let's save it. Okay, now another Java file. Here we include our main method, therefore this is our driver class. Okay, now public static void main string here we create an object from a student class. Now you know, you have already learned, yes, you have already learned here. Now in our student class we did not include the constructor, therefore now here we have invoked default constructor. Okay, therefore the object will have default values. Okay, so let's see. Before first let's save this. In the same folder we had the student.java file. I am going to save, and here you have to select all files, and now test.java. Okay, so when we let's look at our student file as well. Now this is our class. Now this is our student class, this is our test class, and this is the driver class. So execution begins from this line. Here now we have already discussed, we have in memory we have two parts, stack and heap, and this reference variable s will be created on the stack, and on the heap an object will be created. There we have this age attribute, it is 0. Okay, initially 0 because we have used the default constructor. That means the object now has default values to its attributes. Okay, now we try to do this. S.age equals, we use the assignment operator. Okay, 78. Now let's go to command prompt, and here you have to get the you have to be inside double OP folder, and we use Java C command to compile test.java, our Java file with the driver class we compile. Then we get an error. Okay, so the reason is, now in our double OP folder, okay, we have this one is our student.java, this one is our test.java. Now here we have this private int age. This one you have it inside here. Okay, so that one can be accessed only within the class. Okay, now here inside test class we have tried to access age attribute, but age attribute is inside the student class and its access modifier is private. Okay, therefore we can see this error. Age has private access in student. Okay, the problem is in this line. Understood? In that way, now I hope you can clearly understand access modifiers. Then this note says, after compiling the above code, you will see following error message. Okay, so it's here. The attribute age is private to the class student. The attribute cannot be accessed through another class. Okay, now that was a practical demonstration for access modifiers. Now let's see this part. Usually attributes are private and methods are public. This is not a rule and there can be exceptional cases. Now you know this is your class. We have three parts. Here we have name of the class, and here we have the set of attributes. Here we include attributes. Here we include methods, and usually attributes we use for the attributes we use private access modifier, and for the methods we use public access modifier. Okay, usually this is not a rule. Okay, there are exceptional cases. Okay, there are many exceptional cases. Okay, this is just a convention at this level. You simply think attributes, we put private access modifier for the attributes and we put public access modifier for the methods. Okay, then we have to use getter and setter public methods to access private attributes. Once we have made the attributes private, that means they are accessible only within the same class. We cannot access them from outside. Therefore, we create getter and setter public methods to access these private attributes. Okay, that one let's discuss. Okay, I will discuss that part, then you will understand. Setter methods are used to assign values to the private attributes. Now there are two terms, setter methods and getter methods. Okay, setter means we use them to set values of the attributes. Getter methods we use to get values from the attributes. Okay, so actually you will understand this when I discuss an example. Okay, now modify the two files as follows. Note that the getter method and the setter method have been included for the attribute age. Okay, now let's modify our files. Okay, this one private int age, public int get age. Okay, this is our student class. Okay, and now this attribute is private, therefore we cannot access the attribute using the dot operator. In earlier example we have seen it. Okay, so we include a method. Okay, this is a normal method. Okay, nothing special here. Now we use the access modifier public, and this is the return type, and Okay, so here get age. Okay, now here we have to get the value of the age attribute. Here you could have used this one or this one, both are correct. Okay, now as a convention we use get here, get, and then we put age. That is the name of our attribute. Okay, that is how we form the name of the getter method. That is also just a convention. And now we can return the age through this public method, and in order to assign a value to this attribute we use void. Return type is void. Then here we use set, the word set, and we put the name of the attribute, and here we need the parameter to pass the value, and here to this dot age we assign age. Okay, so in this way this one we call it a getter method, this one we call it a setter method, and now these are normal and usual methods. Only thing is we give some special names for them. Okay, now let's see. In our driver class, okay, let's go to the driver class. Here now in this way we cannot access, because age attribute has private access modifier. Therefore we cannot use dot operator and access it in this way. Therefore what we can do is s dot set age. Okay, set age. Now set age method we can access it using the dot operator. The reason is the access modifier of set age method is public. That is the reason. Therefore now this is possible. We pass 78 to here. Okay, now here you s dot get age, we invoke get age method. Now here also this is possible because get age is a public method. It has public access modifier. Therefore this is possible. And now let's see. Let's compile this one and then let's run. Now you can see 78 from this line, so you can understand now it's okay. Understood? Now let's look at these two paragraphs or two sentences. The getter and the setter of an instance attribute should be instance methods. The getter and setter of a class attribute should be class methods. Okay, let's try to understand these two lines. Now earlier when in our lesson 1 and lesson 2 you have learned now attributes. There are two types of attributes, okay. Instance attributes and class attributes, okay. Then methods also, there are two types. Okay. Now I have told you, if it is an instance method, it can access both class methods as well as class attributes as well as instance attributes. If it is a class method, it can only access class attributes, okay. So this one I have taught you in lesson 1, in lesson 2 actually, okay. So now when we discuss setters and getters, if we getter and setter of an instance attribute should be instance methods, okay. That means if there are instance attributes, always setters and getters we want to create them as instance methods, okay. Second line says getter and setter of a class attribute should be class methods. If it is a class attribute, in that situation getters and setters we make them as class methods, okay. So using the earlier logic, you have to think and understand these two sentences. Now let's modify. Now modify the file student.java as follows, okay. So let's go to our student class, okay. Then let's modify it here. Private char name, private int age, okay. Private double marks maths, okay. Private double marks English, private double average, private static double average avg, okay. Now okay. Now you can see here all the attributes. I have used private access modifier. You can see it. Okay. Now this one is a class attribute, and that is why we have used static keyword. Other 5 attributes are instance attributes. Public student, name, int age. This is one particular constructor. This dot name, we assign name. This dot age, we assign age. Okay. Then we need another constructor. okay, now public student, here this dot this, here you pass name and age. Okay, now what we have done here is we use this keyword and 2 arguments. That means it calls this constructor. Okay, now always this keyword referred the same class. Okay, this dot name, student dot name, understood? This dot age means student dot age, and in this situation here we have to use this keyword, that means student here. That means we have invoked this constructor. Okay, now these 2 attributes we do it in that way, and the other 2 attributes, this dot marks maths, we assign marks maths, marks English. Okay, then for the name attribute, that is a private attribute, therefore we need a getter and setter. Public void set name char name this dot name, we assign name. Actually this one is a setter. Now we create the getter char get name return name. Okay, now we move to the age attribute. This one is also private, therefore we need public setter and getter. Public void set age int age. This dot age, we assign age. Public int get age. Return age. Okay, and we return an integer now, therefore here we have int. Age is an int attribute. Here name is a char attribute, therefore we return type is char. So those things you have to understand. Now let's move to marks maths. This one. Okay, then return marks maths. Then public void set marks maths double marks maths. Okay, then we move to this one. Actually there is a mistake here. This should be double. Okay, because here our marks English is a double variable. Okay, there is a mistake. Marks English double then let's move to average attribute. Now it is this one. Okay, now it is little bit different. Okay, because average value, using these two values the system should compute it. Okay, therefore we only create a getter because we want to get the value. We are not going to set a value. System should compute the value of the average attribute. Therefore get average okay, only a getter. Then the same logic for this one, we have to use only it's enough to use a getter. Okay, and the other thing is all the other 5 attributes are instance attributes, but this one is a class attribute. Therefore we have to, in this situation, we have to use a class method for the getter. All the other setters and getters were instance methods because we were dealing with instance methods. In this situation, instance attributes. Okay, we were dealing with instance attributes, and now in this situation, public, we use static keyword double get avg. Okay, return avg. Okay, in this way we have put a getter. Okay, now we include the method to the average. We assign marks maths plus marks English. Okay, this method I have already discussed in our previous lessons. Okay, and therefore I am not going to discuss it here. And now a class method to compute the value of the avg attribute. Okay, so avg is a class attribute. Okay, therefore we created a class method. Now int I avg, so let's initialize it to 0.0. Now we use a for loop. I goes I less than n, I plus to the avg we get s dot average values. Okay, this one Using this one, we using the for loop, we access each average value of the average attribute of each object, and we get the sum. After that, we divide it by n. N is the number of objects, student objects. Okay. Now we have another method, public void display. Plus name okay, then overall average marks. Okay, so that one is AVG, average of all average values. Okay, then this is our display method. Now we have finished creating our student class. Now, as a convention, usually we know all the attributes are private, then all the methods are public. Okay, now let's try to do this exercise. Before that, let's see this class. Okay, now what about the graphical notation of this particular class? Okay, this one, now the name of the class is student. No, this is the name of the class. And now how we can graphically represent? So our attribute, now there are three symbols. Okay, these three symbols we use. This one for private access modifier, this one for public access modifier, and this one for protected access modifier. Okay, so here now private this is the attribute name and its data type. In this way we can write. This is the standard graphical notation. Since we are using Java, here we just put the data type in Java, okay? But that is not the standard way, but for this course let's use that one. And name, then age, okay, age, int, and marks, maths, here it is double, marks, English, here it is double, okay, then average, here it is double, AVG, here it is double. Likewise we have the set of attributes, and now you have to include the set of methods. There are three parts known: name of the class, then the set of attributes or the state of the class, okay, then the set of methods or the behavior of the class. And now here is student, it is public, this one, it is public. Now student, so in the parameter list you have to write it like this: name, its data type is char, comma, age, its data type is int, okay. So it does not have a return type since it is our constructor, it does not have a return type, okay, so you do not write it anywhere. Then let's move to this constructor, okay. There, okay, here you have name, char, age, int, okay, then marks, maths, double, marks, English, marks, English, we do not have a return type, therefore we are not going to specify it. Now this is our class, it is very big, okay, okay. Then how can you put this? Okay, then it is public, therefore plus symbol, set name, then here name, char, okay, then its return type is void, okay. Now how we can represent this in standard graphical notation. Public plus symbol we use, then get name we do not have anything in the parenthesis, and its return type is char. Okay, in this way you have to include the set of methods. Okay, and now this is our, you have to include the rest. Okay, I'm not going to write all the things. Okay, and the other thing I want to tell here, this one is a class attribute, therefore I have already told you we have to underline it. We have to underline it. In that way you can in this graphical notation of a particular class, you can represent access modifiers like this. Okay, then attribute names, their data types, and in methods this is the access modifier. And now here we do not specify the return type, therefore we know these two are constructors. And in the parameter list also, parameter name and data type separated by commas. In this way, this is the standard notation. Okay, now let's discuss our exercise. Okay, now let's try this exercise. Okay, so modify the file test.java to do followings using the file student.java given above. We have already created student.java file. Okay, so now we are asked to modify test.java file. Okay, so this one let's delete the existing content. Okay, then part 1 says create student objects given in the following table. Now in order to do that, first let's create an array. Student, now 10 elements in the array. Okay, now let's see what happens if we execute this line of code. Okay, so now you know in computer memory we have a stack and a heap. Okay, so now an array this is our array T. Okay, so here indices 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and there are 10 elements, and now in each cell we can store memory location of an object of type student. Okay, and now initially each of this cell stores null value. Okay, that is the default value in Java. And now let's declare two int variables. They will be useful to us in future. And here n means the number of objects. So here we are asked to create 3 objects. Therefore let's assign 3 there. And now T naught. So to this one, new student. Here let's see our student class. Now we have 4 columns here. Now let's look at our student class. There, let's use this constructor because we have to assign name, age, marks maths and marks English. Okay, now we use that constructor. Here we pass P, comma 34, comma 45, comma 29. Okay, after execution of this line of code, then you will see on the heap an object will be created, and its name, for its name attribute we have P, and now let's look at our student.java file. Here we have 6 attributes: name, age, marks maths, marks English, average and AVG. And AVG. Okay, now AVG is a class attribute. And now let's see what happens when we execute this line of code. This one, for the age it will assign 34, and marks maths 45, marks English 29, and we have assigned values only to these 4 attributes, and therefore these attributes will take their default values. They are double variables, and now this is a class attribute, therefore let's underline it to distinguish. And now this is our object, and its memory location is stored in T naught here. Now this one is storing this. Okay, and now our next object, this one, we have to again T1 to the next cell, new student. Okay, here Q 23 76 73. Now execution of this line of code, it creates another object. To the name attribute you will have Q. To age attribute you will have 23. Marks maths, to marks maths 76. Marks English 73. And for average attribute we have its default value. For AVG attribute as well we have its default value, and let's underline since it is a class attribute. And now let's create our next object, T2 R 26 87 65. Okay, then execution of this line of code. Okay, in earlier situation here the memory location of this one was stored here. Okay, then after we execute this line of code you will get another attribute name, another object name. This one is R. Age is 26. Marks maths 87. Then marks English 65. Marks English average and here we store the memory location of this object. And now let's go to part 2. They are compute the average marks and overall average marks of students given in the table of question 1. Then display the details of each student. Okay, now what we have to do is we use a for loop I less than n I plus plus, then ti for each ti dot cal average. We invoke this method. Now when we execute this for loop, then what happens? Cal average method is this one. So average, it will sum these two and assign it to this. Okay, then 45 plus 29, if you divide this by 2, you will get 37. Okay, therefore this to this value 37 will be assigned, and in next iteration this 276 plus 73, here 9, and we divide it by 2, this one. Okay, 74.5. okay, now in the next iteration it will compute 87 plus 65, that is we divide it by 2, then you will get 76 here. Okay, these are the values you get. And now let's you have to compute average marks and then overall average marks. That means now we invoke cal avg method in the student class. This one, that is a class attribute. Okay, this is a class attribute, therefore we can invoke it using the class name dot. Okay, therefore now here you can see, once you have passed our array to here, initial avg value is 0. Initial avg value is 0. Okay, then it inside this for loop it accesses average value of each object and get the sum. So here 37 and 37, here 74.5 and here 76. Okay, and here 0.5. Okay, this is the answer, and then after that this value will be divided by 3 because now n value of n is 3. This value will be divided by 3. This is the answer. Okay. Then AVG value will be updated. Now you know AVG is a class attribute, therefore for each object we have a single copy. Therefore in all the 3 places, okay, all the 3 places you have 62.5 62.5. Okay. Now then after that display the details of each student. In order to do that, let's modify. Okay, now here we use another for loop. I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Then here you have to include we add the new line. Then after that t I dot display now let's run and see. Now let's see whether my calculations are correct. Here 29, 37, 62.5, 76, 73, 74.5, 62.5. Here 26, 87, 65, 76, 62, 62.5, and here if this decimal point is not visible. Okay, now these values are correct. Now let's move to the next part. Part 3, update maths marks of a student with the name P to 52. So with name P, this one, okay, therefore maths marks we have to change it to 52. Okay, this value we have to change it to 52, and in order to do that we can use this cell. Okay, therefore T naught dot set marks maths 52. Okay, so we have used the setter, this one. So because now marks maths, that attribute is private. Now you can see all the attributes are private in this class. Marks maths, that is also private, therefore we have to use a public setter. Okay, using this one we assign 52 to marks maths attribute. Therefore the execution of this line of code will put 52. Okay, it will put 52 here. Then and English marks of a student with name are to 72. This one here, English marks, you have to change it to this one. You have to change to 72. Okay, therefore we have to use this cell. Therefore we say T2 set marks 72. Now here then I will show you in that situation also. In the student class we use this one setter method for marks English attribute. Okay, marks English attribute is private, therefore we have to use this public setter to assign a value. Now after the execution of this line of code, here marks English will become 72. Okay, compute and display new details of all the students. Now you can understand we have changed two values, marks maths, this one and this one. Therefore definitely here also average value should change, and here also average value should change. Okay, they are not happening automatically. We have to write a code to do that. Okay, therefore now we use a for loop I from 0 n I plus plus and here you put t I dot cal average method we invoke. Now let's see after execution, what is the output after executing this for loop? Cal average method means in the student class you can see this method. That means you have to sum the value of these two attributes and divide it by 2, then assign that value to this. Okay. Now in here what happens? 52 plus 29. When we divide it by 2, okay, 40.5. Here it will be 40.5. Now it comes here, but here also calculation will occur. 76, we had 73, 9. If we divide it by 2, 7, 5. Okay, same value we get. This value will be replaced by the same value, 74.5. Okay. Now it comes here 87, 72, 87, 72. If we divide this by 2, uh, 79.5. Here you will get this value. Okay. Now after that, average values we have changed. Now this AVG value should also change. You can understand that. Therefore, in order to do that, we invoke student dot cal avg t comma 3. Okay. Now this CalAVG method, it is a class method since we have used the static keyword, and now therefore we can execute it as class name dot. Okay, here you pass the array and n is 3. Therefore initially AVG value is 0. AVG value is 0.0, and now inside the for loop it accesses each average value of each object, this one plus this one plus 79.5. Okay, then okay, now after that we move to this one. Now n is 3, therefore this value will be divided by 3. Likewise it goes, no? 3 3 3 3 3. Okay, so I'm not going to write this. Okay, so therefore after execution of this line of code, now you know AVG value in each place, even though we have written it in each object has a single copy, therefore this value in every place, this value okay. Likewise we have a number. Okay, here also 64.833, likewise it goes, and here also 64.833 it goes. Okay, and now let's display. Okay, in order to display, let's copy this one and paste. Okay, so now let's see what is the output. Then we (64.83333). So now you can see. Let's check whether my calculations are correct. 52, 29, 40.5, 60. 23, 76, 73, 7.6, 87, 72, 79.5, 64.8333. Likewise, okay, now my calculations are correct. Therefore, let's move to the next question. Okay, next question. Now we are asked to create a student object with name S and age 45. If you look at the student class, now we can use this constructor. It contains name and age in the parameter list. Therefore let's use it, and in this situation, for the test class, to the next cell of our array, let's add it. Now 3. Okay, to this one. Okay, so to this one we add new student S, 45. Now what happens after executing this line of code? So let's say this is our stack, and here also our heap. Okay, therefore let's draw it here. Okay, then for the name attribute we have S. For the age attribute we have 45. Okay, then only these two values we assign. Therefore for the marks maths you will get its default value. Okay, then for marks English we will get its default value. For average also we will get its default value, but AVG, what do you think? AVG, it is 0.00 or 0.00 any other value. Okay, now in this situation I have told you for each object we maintain one copy for class attributes. Therefore in this situation AVG is a single copy. Therefore here value of this one will be assigned, this value. Okay, AVG will be assigned 64.833 blah blah blah. Now okay, this will be assigned to this cell. Okay, now if we want we can display and see. Now let's try to display dot display. Now when we display this you can see here in this attribute here for the AVG this value, it's not 0.0. okay, so you have to keep it. Remember that happens because of the reason AVG is a class attribute. Therefore Java maintains a single copy for all the objects. That's why here it is not 0.0, it is this value. Okay, so now let's go to next part. Note that the maths marks and English marks of the student with the name S are 92 and 51 respectively. Update the details of the relevant object. Okay, so in order to do that T3 dot set marks maths, we use the setter method. It is 92, no? 92 T 3 dot set marks English (92). Then here it is 51. Okay, here it is 51. Now after execution of this line of code, okay, what happens? Execution of this line of code, set marks maths T3 dot set marks maths. Here it will become 92 and set marks English, here it will become 51. Okay, 92 and 51. Okay, then now in order to compute and display the average marks of the student, so in order to do that, we invoke T3 dot cal average method. Okay, cal average method. Then cal average method here, this one. Therefore, what happens here? These two values will be added, 92 plus 51. Okay, then 3 this one. Okay, then this value will be added to here. Seventy-one point five. Now you know. Now there are 4 objects. Definitely this value should change. Okay. Therefore, before that, let's try to display this value and see whether my calculations are correct. Okay, so in order to do that, you have to system.println T3 dot get average. We use get average. That means this is a getter, no? This is a getter. This one we use get average method. Now let's see. Here 71.5. My calculations are correct. Okay. Now how can you compute now overall average value? In order to do that, you have to invoke student.calavg, and here we pass t. Okay, t comma. Now there are 4 objects. Okay, after, let's see then what happens after execution of this line of code. In calavg method, I have already shown you in cal AVG method. Initially AVG is 0.0 and inside the for loop each average value is accessed 40.5, then 74.5, 79.5, 71.5. Okay, then we have to add okay, this is the sum. Now yes, this is the sum, and here now value of n is 4, therefore we have to divide it by 4. Okay, now this answer will be updated in every place because we have a single copy for AVG attribute. That is the reason. Okay. Okay, then here 66.5, here 66.5, here 66.5, here also 66.5. Okay, in that way you can see in every object, since this is a class attribute, the same value is assigned. Okay, then we have computed the overall average marks, and after that we can display this system.out.println okay, this one. Now it's this one. Now we have used getAVG method. GetAVG method, it is this one, because our AVG attribute is a class attribute, therefore we need the method. The getter should be a class method. That is why here we have used this static keyword, and in order to invoke this we can simply use is student dot. Okay, in this way. Now let's see the output, and we can check whether my calculations are correct. 66.5. okay, now calculations are correct. Okay, that is the end of this exercise, and in this lecture note, I have included the complete answer I have discussed. Okay, here you can see it. This is the end of our lesson number 3. Okay, thank you for listening.